Thank you for joining us again. We're going to turn our attention to a slightly more delicate topic. Those are higher level speeding citations. Speeds generally in excess of 25 miles per hour over the limit. Sometimes speeding charges of this character are ones that would also be accompanied by a secondary charge of careless and reckless driving. So this is a delicate conversation because these are very severe charges. These are charges that have severe consequences attached to them, and so we need to take our time and kind of think through how these charges can possibly be resolved by our attorneys. When thinking about a high-level speeding charge in excess of 25 miles an hour over the limit, there are some very significant consequences that can attach. Initially, charges of this nature are a misdemeanor charge, so there is a criminal history attached for a conviction of any speed of this character. Secondly, we're looking at the fact that a charge of this nature is almost certainly going to be something that if you were convicted for the actual original charge, you would lose your license for a significant number of days or maybe even months or even up to a year. So when thinking about a speeding charge of this character, there are some really big ramifications that can come to you if you receive one of these charges and are convicted for it. So when we're thinking about how to handle a citation of this character, our goals are multifaceted. First, we're trying to prevent any sort of criminal history from being attached to you. Secondly, we're trying to make sure that you don't lose your license. And then third, and probably the last in importance, is trying to make sure that your impact to your insurance is minimized, if at all possible. So what we're going to first of all try to do is get rid of any secondary charge for careless and reckless driving. Careless and reckless driving is a high points offense. It would lead to the assessment of 4 license points in and of itself, and that would be separate and apart from the speeding charge that you were also charged with. So we want to get rid of that careless and reckless charge as a primary goal. It's also a class 3 misdemeanor, so we need to get rid of that as soon as we possibly can. We would generally do that as part of a negotiated settlement in a case where we would get the speeding charge reduced and get the careless and reckless driving charge dismissed. Again, as we discussed in a prior video, a dismissal means that that charge is thrown out by the court. So if we're able to come to an agreement with the state where they will dismiss the careless and reckless driving charge, that's going to be our first goal, because that's a very serious charge that we need to get rid of first and foremost. Secondly, we're going to try to get the speeding charge itself reduced down to a lower level violation. Again, speeding charge 25 miles an hour or in excess of that is a criminal violation. We're going to try, if at all possible, to get that down to an infraction level offense. So what we're going to be looking forward to first and foremost is if you've got a great driving record, if the speed is fairly moderate, 25 and no higher above the limit, we're going to try to get that down to what's called exceeding the safe speed. Exceeding the safe speed is a very low level moving violation. It does count as a moving violation, so there is some insurance point impact, but it is the lowest level of moving violation. It only results in 2 license points. And if we can get that speeding charge reduced down to ESS, exceeding the safe speed, that's going to be a fantastic outcome for a charge that normally would have caused a suspension of your license and a criminal record. That being said, ESS is not always an option. Sometimes the speed is in excess of 25 miles an hour over the limit, sometimes 30 or 40 miles an hour over the limit. And what we're going to be trying to do in a case like that is we're going to try to get that speed down to the point where it's not going to be a suspension speed. So there's still going to be some impact to your license, but to your insurance, but your license is not going to be suspended. In a case like that, what we're going to be looking forward to is a reduction down to 14 miles an hour over the limit, maybe 15 miles an hour over the limit, depending on the county. We have to try to get it down to at least or no more than 15 miles an hour over the limit, because anything more than that could still suspend your license. So what we're going to try to do in those higher level cases is get the speed down to 15 miles an hour, 14 miles an hour over the limit or less. And that's going to still cause an insurance rate impact to you, but it will not cause a suspension of your license, and it moves the level of the citation down to an infraction level offense so that you're avoiding that criminal charge, that criminal history that would accrue from a conviction for the underlying speeding offense. Now, sometimes the speed is so high that an exceeding the safe speed or a reduction down to 14 or 15 miles an hour over the limit is just simply not possible. Those will be in cases where we're looking at the speed potentially being doubled up, if it's a low speed zone like a 60 and a 30 mile per hour zone, or ones where the speeds are potentially in excess of 95 miles an hour. So in those instances, what we're going to be looking at is trying to do everything we can to minimize the hit to you, both your insurance, your criminal record, and also your license. And sometimes that is going to involve us saying, listen, we can't do anything about this unless we simply plead guilty to the careless and reckless driving charge, and then we can get the speeding charge dismissed so that that goes away and you're not looking at any sort of suspension of your license, but unfortunately you still are looking at a severe hit to your insurance and also a potential of a criminal record for a Class 3 misdemeanor. Now, that being said, in almost all of the instances where we would look at a careless and reckless driving conviction as a preferable outcome are ones where we are seeing a speed that is so high that if any speed conviction was taken in that case, it would lead to a significant and lengthy, potentially up to a year, suspension of your license. So again, this is a very delicate conversation. Speeds in excess of 25 miles an hour or speeds that are accompanied with a secondary charge of careless and reckless driving, these are difficult citations to handle. Clients come in sometimes and they think that these cases are going to be a walk in the park, and that is absolutely not the case. These cases are ones that require a lot of time and diligent attention from our attorneys to resolve in a beneficial manner. If we can, we're going to get the careless and reckless driving charge dismissed, get the speeding charge reduced down to something like exceeding the safe speed, if at all possible. If that's not possible, we're going to look at a reduction of the speed down to maybe 14 or 15 miles an hour over the limit, where you still be able to keep your license and avoid a criminal violation. But in certain instances where the speeds are super high, we have to look at a reduction down to careless and reckless driving as our very best possible option. And in those instances, it's us basically looking at we're in between a rock and a hard place, and we're choosing the lesser of two evils. So again, just make sure you watch your speeds. But if you do get into a situation where you've gotten a speeding charge that is significantly above the limit, 25 miles an hour or more, there are certain ways that we can handle those cases that would help you keep your license. But the circumstances are limited, and it does take a diligent and a thoughtful approach from our attorneys to get you through such a situation.